Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to spend some of your day with me. And we're going to be talking about why this Lake Fork Bassmaster Elite Series tournament that just got finished yesterday represents everything that's wrong with the sport right now. It's a perfect example of a lot of stuff we've been talking about. We're going to go over it in today's episode, and definitely curious to get your guys' feedback on that as well. And first of all, guys, before we get started, I just want you to know that I am not stoned. I've had a bunch of people the last couple weeks say, man, Randy's stoned, Randy's baked, he looks stoned. I have got some unbelievable seasonal allergies. The pollen is like so thick on my truck right now. I'm like all puffed up in my eyes. So no, I'm not stoned. I got some bad allergies, and have, it seems like the last 10 years as I've got older, my allergies, seasonal allergies have gotten worse, so I wanted to clarify that. And also, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to extend a big thank you for me and my family, for everybody that continues to support Intuitive Angling here. Thank you very much for, subscribing to the channel, using all the links I put in the description, taking advantage of all the sales that Tackle Warehouse has on my video link description. So really appreciate that if you guys are doing that. Okay, now, of course of all, we're going to have the detractors in this tournament, or in this video. We're going to say, Randy, you're beating a dead horse. I'm sick of it. Randy does the same videos over and over again. I won't, guys, as soon as we accomplish our mission of getting live scope and forward-facing sonar banned from the tournaments, which we are getting closer to doing, you won't hear me talking about it anymore. But until then, anytime something comes up like what happened at Lake Fork yesterday, I'm not going to let it slide, because if we have to endure it as a bass fishing community, if we have to go through this all the time and they refuse to do the right thing, we're going to not normalize it. We're going to bring it up and call it out every single time it happens, which we're going to do in this video. Okay, now if you didn't see much of this Lake Fork tournament, guys, you didn't miss anything, because it's the same old thing. Spotlighting for bass, relying on electronic forward-facing sonar technology for the majority of all the high finishes in this tournament, as we predicted. Kudos to Greg Hackney and Seth Fighter for actually catching bass, by real bass fishing techniques without using that artificial technology. And before I get into this, guys, I want to reiterate for all of the pro spotlighters out there that have their umbilical cord tied to their forward-facing sonar unit, I am not bashing young anglers here whatsoever. This is not what it is. So stop with the fake outrage that Randy's disparaging young anglers and Randy's bias and, criticizing young anglers. That's not what I'm doing. Every single person in that Lake Fork tournament, I don't care if they caught their bass spotlighting or whatever, they played by the rules that Bassmaster set. Although we do know the rules were messed up. I mean, NPFL is the only organization besides some of the smaller circuits that are doing the right thing and becoming adults in the room. MLF they've tried to put some limitations on it, but they're half measures. They don't make any difference whatsoever. So anyway, the point of the matter is this video is not here to bash people that did good using forward-facing sonar, or the young anglers that are utilizing forward-facing sonar. So again, stop with the fake outrage. If you're one of those people that are getting ready to do that, just stop getting your panties in a wad over this. Okay, given that, let's talk a little bit about the situation here, why this Lake Fork tournament represents everything that's wrong with the sport. Guys, on my social media platforms, I have close to 1 million people that, either watch or follow or subscribed or whatever. Guys, I have gotten thousands of comments this week because I've done some videos on this, and I've done some YouTube posts on this Lake Fork tournament. Thousands of comments. All you have to do is go through my comment section, read it, about people just disgusted about what they saw at Lake Fork. They are absolutely disgusted watching everybody glued to a video game screen and spotlighting these big bass at Lake Fork. I mean, it's unbelievable how people have lost patience with this. It's like 2 years ago when we started talking about this stuff, or 3 years ago, it was like, whatever, just let them fish how they want to fish. This is just another tool in fishing. This is not, you still have to catch the fish. It doesn't make the fish bite. I mean, we've heard all the bullshit around it. But in this particular tournament, guys, the reality of the situation that we find ourselves in is undeniable. Forward-facing sonar technology has completely changed the sport into something that's not even recognizable in a bad way. When you talk about change, and when you talk about technological advances and improvements in our society and our daily way of life, this is not one of them. This is a huge step backwards. It's a degradation of the sport, and you've seen it reflected in the comments. It's like, these people, guys, the viewers and the subscribers and the people that follow my channel are microcosm of the bigger picture here. And the majority of anglers out there, regardless how people want to whitewash it, and regardless how tournament organizations want to deny the reality of the situation, regardless how Bassmaster wants to put their head in the sand over this, people are disgusted by what they saw at Lake Fork. Now, there is a minority of the people out there that are connected with their umbilical cord to forward-facing sonar that just gush over it. There's always going to be that. I don't care what it is, guys. Any segment of our life, I don't care if it's business, politics, social issues, whatever, there's going to be a minority of the people out there, a vocal minority, that oppose anything, regardless how right it is. And this is what we're seeing right now with this forward-facing sonar on Lake Fork. Now, the thing about this, it's like Lake Fork stands out more than any other event simply because of the size of the bass down there. You know, I will say one thing about Texas. They have got an incredible fisheries management program in terms of creating a trophy bass scenario in some of the lakes down there. Texas sort of sets the bar for that. So I give them credit for it. But the thing about that is when you have a tournament at Lake Fork where it is heavily forward-facing sonar, usage down there, and you have these giant bags of fish caught, these 30, 35-pound giant bags of fish, it creates this illusion that everything's okay. And people try to equate weights that are being caught right now over the last 2 or 3 years at Lake Fork back 10 or 15 years ago before facing sonar, and you can't do that. There's no relationship, or there's no comparison whatsoever to when somebody won a tournament at Lake Fork, on a big swim bait with 2-dimensional sonar 10 or 15 years ago versus the disgusting display of forward-facing sonar that we saw this last week at Lake Fork. So again, in my opinion out there, any person that wins a tournament with forward-facing sonar, any person that gets a check with forward-facing sonar, there needs to be an asterisk in the record books that win was aided with the use of artificial technology. That is only fair. Because, guys, you look at every one of those anglers out there that actually scoped those fish, not a single angler would have known any of those fish are out there whatsoever. And that's not even the most important thing about that, because you can see fish with other type of electronic technology. The point of which is when you're able to locate and pinpoint these fish that don't even relate to structure and are just roaming around in that open water, and then you can manipulate them into biting based upon the reaction that you see from the live imaging technology. That is something that we talk about all the time that removes fair chase from the sport of competitive fishing. And once you remove that element of fair chase from competitive fishing, you've taken away everything what competitive fishing is. These Bassmaster Elite Series pros are supposed to be the best anglers on the planet. They are not. I'll say that again. They are not the best anglers on the planet. They are the best anglers that have utilized artificial technology as a crutch to help them catch fish, and without the understanding of seasonal patterns and seasonal movements of bass anglers. If you took the top 100 hammers in this country that do not use forward-facing sonar whatsoever, and then you took the top 100, guys that are connected with their umbilical cord using forward-facing sonar, and you put them on the same playing field at Lake Fork that same week, yesterday, and the only technology that you had was 2-dimensional sonar, guys, every one of those spotlighters down there would be at the bottom of the pack. And people say that one of the biggest myths and the biggest bunch of crap I have ever seen is people say, oh, these forward-facing sonar guys, if they would do just as good without it. Guys, please stop denying the reality of the situation. There is no way, if somebody has forward-facing sonar as their game, and every single tournament they go out and they rely on that technology 100%, that they can just stop using that technology and expect to compete with somebody that has mastered the art form of seasonal movement, seasonal patterns, bass behavior, mood and personality of fishes, how bass relate to structure. They can't do it because they don't have the dirt time to do that. That's like saying just because somebody wins a long driving contest, they can hit a golf ball 400 yards, that they're going to go out and they're going to compete on the PGA Tour. There's no comparison whatsoever to it. And one of the things that we have got to fight against, just tooth and nail with this, is the normalization of what we saw at Lake Fork yesterday. You can't ever look at that and just dismiss it and become apathetic and say, that's just the way it is. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. This is technology and you can't dial it back. Yeah, you can, because the only reason that we're faced with this is because of the decisions, the inept decisions of the Bassmaster management to refuse to do the right thing here. Now, when you talk about in terms of tournament organizations, MLF and Bassmaster, MLF they are, I give them all the credit in the world, and they are the best organization in the world for the weekend and AAA circuits. They're the BFL circuits and the Toyota Series, guys. Those are some of the best run tournaments I have ever seen in my life. But the reality of everything is, the reason the Bass Pro Tour has never taken off, I mean, it's got a small following, but let's be honest with the guys. The Bass Pro Tour has never taken off to the level what they thought it was going to when this happened, when the split happened. So therefore, even in today's society, the Bass Pro Tour is not seen as really any type of competition against bass. As long as you have Bassmaster in existence as an organization with the Bassmaster Classic and the history of that organization, Bassmaster is going to be looked upon as the leader in the sport, even though they are not now, because they are in terrible hands management-wise. They have a bunch of people within Bassmaster that are making decisions that don't fish. They don't understand the realities of tournament fishing. They don't understand the traditions and the norms and the heritage of tournament fishing. It's in terrible hands right now. But regardless how poor it's being run in these terms, it is still looked upon as the leader in the sport. That's why you always hear me harping about Bassmaster, because I want to see them return to the greatness that they once had, the integrity that they had, the leadership they had as an organization. My whole focus on this whole anti-spotlighting crusade and my critique of Bassmasters is to help turn the organization around and to help them out. I'm not trying to undermine that organization. I'm not trying to make that organization go under. I'm trying to make them thrive, and they are headed down the toilet right now because they've got their heels dug in with this forward-facing sonar bullshit, and we have seen it. And guys, if you're Chase Anderson that owns Bassmaster, or if you're a Bassmaster, upper management, guys, do yourself a favor and go look in my comments. That's all you have to do. You look in there and see how many people say Bassmaster is dead to me. I'm not renewing my Bassmaster membership. I'm done with bass. I watched it for 2 minutes and had to turn it off. Thousands of comments just like that. You can't deny that. You can't look through somebody like myself that has a big platform, and you look through the comments of your constituents and deny the reality of what they're saying. That's the most stupid business move anyone can ever make. You can't whitewash it. You can't stick your head in the sand. You can't say that this is just the way things are. This is the way of the future, and this is progress. It's not. You guys are undermining yourself, and you're alienating your own base. And this Lake Fork tournament that we just had, it hammers home that to everybody. Everybody out there that is a detractor, a rightful detractor of forward-facing sonar, was disgusted about what they saw at Lake Fork. Absolutely disgusted. And I don't know what it's going to take for people to change that. It's like, think about this. Everybody was so refreshed in this tournament by watching Greg Hackney and Seth Feider because they were not using forward-facing sonar. You hear every comment, you hear people talking positively and complimenting Seth Feider and Greg Hackney for being able to compete on some level against the spotlighters, and then you hear everybody dogging and hammering the spotlighters. It doesn't take a genius to put two and two together and say, hey, these people are our customer base. This is what keeps our company in business. Why are we pissing off our base simply to satisfy the demands of an electronic company that are pressuring us to allow forward-facing sonar to stay legal in our tournaments? So anyway, guys, I'm going to keep bringing this up over and over again. And again, I want to reiterate two different things in here. I don't blame the young anglers for using forward-facing sonar. They've been put in the position, they're forced to do that. I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for every young angler out there that goes from tournament to tournament and gets out there and scans with that forward-facing sonar. I put every bit of this blame on Bassmaster and the people in positions of power at Bassmaster that force the anglers have to do this. Nobody should be forced to do this. All they have to do is make one simple rule change. And we've heard the buzz. You guys have probably heard it the last couple of years that there's been couple weeks, there's been such an outrage that apparently Bassmaster's having some meeting or whatever with the anglers out there to address the situation of this dumpster fire that they're in with forward-facing sonar. Let's just imagine for a second. Let's imagine in a perfect world that 2 weeks ago, Bassmaster would have said, we're banning forward-facing sonar from our tournaments. It's against the norms and traditions. It takes away the mystery and the magic of the sport. It's creating this unlevel playing field. It's harming the sustainability of our fisheries. We're banning it. So they have this Lake Fork tournament yesterday. Now let's imagine this with no forward-facing sonar. It's traditional bass fishing techniques. Guys are throwing big swim baits up shallow. They're throwing floating worms and flukes up shallow. They're pitching and flipping, docks and shallow reeds. Do you realize what how the stock in Bassmaster would go up? You would have, instead of having everybody in my comment section tell me how bad Bassmaster sucks, everybody would say, man, bass fishing is back again. I can't wait to watch it. This is the greatest thing in the world. I love seeing Greg Hackney flip that 1 ounce jig in those cattails and catch that 10-pounder. It's not freaking rocket science. It's so easy to do this because I made this comment a couple days ago. It's like 30 years ago, you never heard anybody say a bad word about a Bassmaster tournament. Everybody was excited as they can be. And now everybody's all pissed off about it. And it's only because of forward-facing sonar. It's not difficult to understand the reality of the situation. And I just don't get it. And it's like, and for somebody like myself that loves Bassmaster, wants Bassmaster to be successful, and more importantly, wants the norms and traditions and the heritage of the sport to get passed down to the next generation, which is the number one thing, it's the most frustrating thing in the world for not only myself, but for most of the other anglers out there. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about it. And we're going to keep on it, guys. We are not going to let off the gas on this thing until we get our goal accomplished of banning forward-facing sonar, banning live scope from the tournaments, getting that crap out of the sport that doesn't belong here, and getting back to real bass fishing where it belongs, and having that baseline of not letting technology influence our sport. Professional bass fishing, guys, should be difficult. These guys are supposed to be the best anglers in the world. They're not. They're not the best anglers in the world. They are supposed to be. And if you try to represent yourself as the best angler of the world, it should be tough for you. You shouldn't have artificial crutches. You shouldn't have advantages like having a piece of fake artificial equipment tell you where to cast, show you where to cast. That's not what pro fishing is. You should have to use your instincts and your intuition and your dirt time and your art form as an angler to locate these fish by fishing to find fish. And if you can't understand and you can't grasp that concept, just reevaluate your worldview of fishing, because it's been colored by the propaganda from electronic companies. So anyway, guys, hope you're all well. We'll talk later.